So I had a bit of a silly idea. This story begins a couple weeks ago when I was feeling the itch to shoot something, but not just anything, and so I came up with an idea, a silly one I must admit, and in today's video I'm showing you the process of that shoot and how I ended up tripping 100 times for a photo shoot. At least it felt like 100. On the channel here, I've talked a couple times about the difference between reactive photography and non-reactive photography, which are by no means real terms in photography, it's just how I like to describe the following ideas. Reactive photography is when you, the photographer, just go out and look for things to photograph. You have your photographic vision activated and are in a state of alarm in case the perfect photo happens to appear around the corner. And then there's non-reactive photography, which is just any approach to photography that includes a little bit more preparation than simply going out and reacting to your surroundings. For example, this can include conceptual photography. Many conceptual photography projects require not only the creation of a concept, but preparation beyond that, such as storyboarding, costuming, location scouting, and things like that. Photography, of course, is not binary in the sense that we're always doing the one or the other. Oftentimes we're somewhere in the middle. The point I'm getting to is that a couple weeks ago, I felt like shooting something that is not entirely reactive. I think it's fair to say that a lot of us photographers mostly shoot reactive photography, and that's for good reason. It's really fun. But on this particular day, I was feeling the itch to come up with some concept to shoot. Personally, I do not pressure myself here that I need to come up with some revolutionary concept. It can be anything, and I'm happy to keep it simple. But to have a concept or a theme can be really fun in my opinion, and so I did some thinking. With that goal in mind, to find some concept or theme to shoot, but without any pressure for it to be amazing, I kept thinking, and suddenly something popped into my head. How about I make a bit of a silly photo series that is a bit like a joke in each photo? It's not really a joke, but I mean a photo that at first glance seems quite normal, but when the viewer looks closer, I want them to go, wait, what? The specific idea I had was to shoot fairly normal wide shots or landscapes and place myself somewhere in the background, or at least relatively small. The part that will possibly make the viewer's head tilt though is that I will be in a state of falling or tripping. So I want it to look like a normal wide shot, but in the back if you look closely you'll see this person having a terrible fall and tumbling to the ground. I don't know, is it just me or does that sound kind of funny? So this would not be entirely reactive, still a little though, because I'll not be location scouting intensively for this shoot and just see what I find at a certain location. Anyway, I liked the idea and so I decided to shoot a bunch of photos of me falling onto the ground.
I know it's nothing new, but it's so good to see you.
So to begin this series, I decided to drive up to one of my recent favourite locations since moving to Innsbruck. I've shown you this location in a couple of my recent videos. So here's Innsbruck, and about a 30 to 40 minute drive away is this long road that goes through a valley. These clips were shot somewhere in this area, however for this shoot I didn't want to be in complete nature actually. I wanted to stop earlier in one of the small villages on the way, and so I ended up in this spot here. My setup for the day was pretty simple, just my Lumix GX80 with the 20mm f1.7, and of course I brought my tripod so that I could run off into the scene. By the way, speaking about the tripod, I would like to briefly introduce you to the brand that makes this tripod, Tarion, who are very kindly sponsoring today's video. I've worked with them before a little while ago when they had me try their camera bag, which to this day I use for most of my photo-related travelling. And so I was really excited when they reached out asking whether I'd like to try their tripod because I was kind of in need of one. Seeing as I often shoot videos of me using a camera on a tripod, I was kind of in need of a second one, and so Tarion was a great opportunity, and I've been able to compare this tripod to my other one. This tripod is the CTH11X and I think it feels great, which is an important first impression. It certainly doesn't feel cheap. More notably though, I've noticed that this tripod is packed with features. My other tripod is fine, it's doing a great job, and something that is really important for my work is that I can invert it so that I can use it to scan my negatives with my digital camera. So that was the first thing I was looking out for, and Tarion's tripod does that splendidly. However, it actually does a lot more. First simple thing I noticed is that it's higher, it extends quite a lot. Then at the bottom of the middle tube is a hook where you can hang your bag or anything else if you want to add some extra weight to your tripod for windy days, for example. The head is also really cool, especially for someone like me who makes videos. In addition to the standard ball head, it has two screws which will let you turn the camera 360 degrees. The bottom one I think is better for rough adjustments and ease of use, while the upper one feels smoother, and I've used it for effects like this one. Then another interesting feature is that you can screw off one of the legs and attach the head to it to use the leg as a monopod. Sometimes when filming I've used my tripod like a monopod, and so in the future I will be able to do this more properly. Lastly, I would like to point out the multifunctional cube that they also include, which lets you do all sorts of things from rigging extra stuff to the tripod to setting it up in an alternative way. Anyway, all in all, I can tell that a lot of thought has been put into this tripod, and I'm really thankful to have this in my kit thanks to Tarion. Thank you to Tarion for working with me again and sponsoring the video. So for my first photograph, I decided to simply stay at this parking area because I really like the wide open space and the shapes of light that were hitting the ground.
Some rest. I'm by your side. Lay your head on my
I feel extremely awkward doing this. I feel like the houses around me are watching me.
Here's the result, and I like this start. The wide frame is working for me. I like that I was able to just fit in the tree, and then when it comes to the elements in the composition, I like how my eye is first drawn to the tree, then the car, and then the shed on the right. It is only after that that my eyes realize, the left side is a bit empty. Wait, what's going on there? And there I am, in air, looking like I'm walking up some stairs, but someone cut me out in Photoshop and rotated my body. I think that looks pretty funny, I'm not going to lie. This first shot already perfectly demonstrates the concept I was going for, and I'm really hoping that you get it. I'm not sure somehow whether this is only funny to me, or if you also think that this is at least mildly amusing. Anyway, let's move on.
I do really hope that I'm going to find some spots that are not like this, because my hand already is a little injured. Yeah, gravel's not the best maybe.
it hurts.
For my second composition, I actually still remained at the parking area, however on a different side of it, where I found this cool sign with the map of the mountains. I was really fond of the framing I could choose here, with that sign as the main subject and the forest plus a couple rocky peaks in the background.
The world could fall down, it's gonna be okay. The sun could fall.
I'm only doing it once or twice again. Let me just check, maybe it works at first try already, then we don't have to do it again. Yeah, I think this worked wonderfully. Yeah. No, I'm happy with that. And I'm not just saying that because I don't want to do it again.
Here's the result, and I think this looks pretty cool. On a photographic level, I think this works out quite well. On the conceptual level, not as good, but it's fine. In my opinion, I'm a little too present in the photo. I really liked how small I was in the otherwise big scene in the first shot. However, here I'm a bit bigger. Then I moved on, but again, not much actually, just to the main road where I already found another composition. Here's the result, and I love this scenery first of all. Since moving here to Tyrol, I just can't get enough of the crazy mountains and all the villages or the town that I live in that are so close to the mountains. I'm fond of how in this shot we get a decent view of the mountain and how the vegetation changes throughout the height. However, at the same time the mountain is cut off on the left side, clearly implying how much higher it goes, and then there's me, having a wee fall. I like how the pose looks, it certainly looks a bit uncomfortable and random. Also, I'm a bit further away, but maybe still a little too present. I'm thinking in hindsight now this might have worked better if I did this at the bus stop at the back. But I'm not sure, maybe that would be too insignificant again, really unsure about that.
The night fades like a whispered song as time rushes on.
Then I walked around this area a bit more and tried a couple compositions, but none worked well enough that I thought it'd be worth a try. Seeing as these movements, in which I'm basically throwing myself onto the ground, do not exactly pass me by unnoticed or uninjured, I quickly became quite picky with which compositions to actually shoot. Eventually, I found this vantage point from where I got a decent view of the church so that I could neatly center frame it in a way that the bottom of the photo includes the road where I would place myself. By the way, in case you're wondering how I actually set up the camera to shoot by itself, the Lumix has a time-lapse mode in which it shoots raw files in a set interval. The tricky part is that the fastest setting is 1 photo every second, and so actually capturing the best moment of my fall was barely possible in a purposeful manner. It mostly just came down to luck, and I did often have to repeat the process until the camera caught a weird enough moment I was satisfied with.
Well, that hurt a bit. Let's check out the photos.
This is the result, and I like it a lot. I love how the layering of the composition worked out. The midground features the main subject, the church, and then we have the lovely background made up of mountains, forest, and the sky. And in the foreground is this road, which usually I think I would have tried to exclude because it disturbs the composition, but in this particular case, it is what completes the photo. It feels like an intentional foreground that happens to be the stage for me, the secondary subject. While I'm not so happy with the pose here, I still enjoy how this worked out. It feels quite right. Even though I'm pretty big in frame, the foreground functioning as a stage for that kind of makes it work for me. Then I continued my walk and found a couple different things that were interesting but not useful for what I was going for. Until I came here to these 2 road signs. I was wondering whether I could compose a shot in which the road signs are the main focus and place myself in the background. Eventually, I decided to try it out.
Okay, yeah, this project is definitely taking blood, sweat and tears. At least the blood part is here and sweat part is also. Tears are still missing, but they'll come eventually probably.
This is the outcome, and I like this one. The signs as the subject works splendidly, seeing as their red colour pulls so much attention to them apart from also being simply centre framed. And I'm quite happy with the position of my body that the camera caught here. It looks a bit painful, like the moment of impact, which I like. The next photo I happened to find right behind me here, where I came across a bench and I decided to jump off that bench. Now mind you, I was very pleased to be able to fall into grass here because that is so much softer than the bloody concrete. I definitely would have not done this if there wasn't a patch of grass to fall into after I'd launched myself into air from that bench. Anyway, this photograph took quite a few attempts and my body was feeling a bit wonky, but I really wanted to get a good shot. At last, I did get one that I was satisfied with, however, I'm afraid I was only satisfied with it because my body told me to be satisfied. Here it is, and it's funny, but also not that weird. What I liked in the previous photos was that the body position was weird in a way that I thought one couldn't quite guess how this situation came to be. However, here I find it pretty clear in my body position that I had jumped off the bench and was about to catch my fall with my arms. So I'm not that satisfied after all, but whatever, let's continue. The next shot was actually, again, really close by, just a couple meters up the road, where I found another cute sign that I decided to frame as the main subject. I prepped everything and did my jump a couple times. Okay, let's actually have a look at this frame by frame. So this, I think, would have been quite a funny moment. Unfortunately, what I got was this. I did try it a couple times, but after a few jumps my body was aching and I didn't feel like it was going to be any better, and so I just decided to take this one. And I mean, it's not bad, but looking at the video frame by frame shows me what I could have had. Maybe next time I'll just shoot a video and grab a still frame from that. Anyway, I do really like the composition and the subject though, so there's that. Next, I kind of felt done with this location and decided to return to the car to maybe drive on a little further and look for a couple more scenes. My goal for the day was to go home with 10 photographs, and at this time I had 7. However, instead of driving to a different spot, I found an interesting path from the parking area that led into the woods, where I decided to just go and explore a bit to see what I could find. Here I had found this neat pile of logs and thought maybe that could work as a subject, and so I set up a composition. Thanks to the soft grass ground, I was feeling quite confident to make a high jump and ended up doing this. Here's the result, and I love the moment that the camera captured of my fall. However, a lot of other things in this photograph don't really work for me. I myself am too big and present in frame. I think it would have been much funnier to have me tumbling down the hill up here. But apart from that, I also have come to realise that the subject is frankly quite boring. So that's a bit of a pity considering the funny body position the photograph captures, but that's part of the process. I then found a similar location with similar conditions where I tried the same again.
Yes. Okay, worth it.
This one worked out a bit better, I find. I like the composition and overall scene here. Also, I think the moment captured here is quite funny, and I'm much smaller in frame, which I do think works better. Next, I continued just a little up the path and came across a playground where I thought I could find a nice angle for one last shot. After some searching, I came up with a composition that pictures a portion of the park, and I would simply place myself in the back.
Okay, so the first two didn't work out at all, and I was really not thinking that the third one would work out, but the camera happened to catch just the right moment, and it actually looks quite funny.
This is what I got, and I think this is pretty nice. I like the scene and the lighting, the composition works I find, and the moment the camera caught here is pretty funny in my opinion. And here I'm really small in frame. This now has me questioning whether this is too small. I'm not sure, and that is exactly why I'm doing this shoot. It's to elaborate on my initial ideas and see what could work and what doesn't, and adjust the plan accordingly.
Alright, we have 10 photos, I think. That was the goal for today. And I think my body is also telling me that should be enough for today.
After that, I was very happy to head back to the car and to not throw myself onto the ground anymore for a while. Anyway, I'm currently in the process of reflecting on this project to decide whether this concept is worth further exploration. I would really like to have your input, by the way, if you don't mind sharing. I see some potential in this somewhat comedic concept, and I think this might be worth further pursuing, but I need to refine what exactly I'm looking for in each shot so that I don't need to unnecessarily throw myself around too often. I think my body would appreciate that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed joining me on this journey. Before saying goodbye, I would like to give a warm thank you to the lovely people who are supporting me and my work on Patreon. Huge thank you to each one of you. If you're interested in Lightroom presets, extra videos such as tutorials or postcards, you can check out my page via the link in the description. Also, I have a print shop in case that is of interest to you. With that said, I hope to see you again soon. Until then, goodbye.